Well, welcome to our text neck talk, and I think everyone knows that text neck is when we get in that forward position because people are always on their handheld devices. We see that everywhere, don't we?
Yeah.
I've started running at the rec center now, and I was out there twice this week, and even on the running tracks. You know, the lanes are walk, walk, jog, run, and the strollers are in the run lane and they're texting. But everyone's texting all the time. And the question is it really that important? Do you really need to get that message out all the time? And that position that your head is that bad for you? Well, tonight I'm going to show you information about how bad it is for you, what it's doing to your body, and what this is doing to your children, your grandchildren, and the next generation. So yes, it is a global epidemic. Evolution. So we've gone in a good direction, but we seem to be going back down again, don't we? See, the whole idea is we're trying to transform people's lives. We're trying to change your life by showing you what you're supposed to. But we have this world of conformity. We have this world where people are deforming themselves. And the Bible talks about transformation. We're going in the wrong direction here. So tonight's about informing you so we don't deform you, so that we can transform you. Brain development. Brain development starts in the first week of conception. By the time you're born, 100 billion cells that are interconnected in your brain and they run your body. So that's your nervous system. All these connections allow your body to do what they're supposed to. My job is just to make sure there's no interference with this perfect process. Medical doctors don't make this happen. Chiropractors don't make this happen. That's God's power inside your body. And it only works if there's no interference. So the expression we like is God doesn't need any help. He simply needs no interference. And we tend to be interfering with our body in many, many cases. Newborn life. Well, the newborn, as soon as they're born, it's all about the body functioning properly. And the brain and spinal cord are very delicate areas. So when babies are pulled out, I remember seeing Mitchell. I call it a bicep birth. When Dr. Shelley Franks pulled him out, he had his foot up on the table and I saw his biceps and he pulled my son out. A normal obstetric birth, 40 pounds is what the doctor is allowed to pull out with the great big salad tongs, the forceps. That is pressure on the brainstem, and that can cause issues that you might not know now. It can happen later on in life. So as soon as they put him under the French fry light, I went over and I adjusted him. And the nurses said, "What did you just do?" I said, "Don't worry about it. That's our son." But my son got adjusted right from birth. Adam was a C-section baby. We're not against medicine, but he wasn't going to come out the other way. So we had to do a C-section. You know, it wasn't our choice, so we're not against that. But when people choose C-sections, then we have to question that because all the research is that's not normal for the child and it's not good for their long-term development. Many birth injuries, like I was just alluding to, you don't see them at that time. You see them years later in their attention span. You might see it in the autism scale. You might see it in headaches. We don't know what we're going to see, but this is why people should see chiropractic on a regular basis. This is, you know how I always start the video with, or the talk with a nice child picture? It's a nice child picture, but the position that their head gets into. Do you see how that is bad for their body? And who's seen something like this in the last few weeks where you're in a mall or at church and you see someone with a child and a phone like this? The average person, 7.5 hours a day using technology. 53 hours of work. You know what I hear from people? I don't have time to do something. You're probably right. Because you're spending 53 hours of your week doing something like this. By the time you get to college or university, you hit the threshold of 10,000 hours. Now that's the equivalent of 5 years full-time work. Looking down at your phone. And I love the analogy they make here. It's like putting a 7-year-old in your knapsack and walking around all day. Do you ever wonder why these people have neck pain and they get that burning sensation back there? Your head isn't designed to be in that forward position, and then the muscles have to work so hard that they can't do it, So the body creates more bone. And this more bone sets up situations where it affects your nerves, and the nerves run your organs in the body. So it all cascades to the next and the next problem. And it's all about not doing this for too long. At the end, Linda's going to take you over to the gym. She's going to show you some exercises that you can start and get your children to start doing it. But this is the problem when you go forward like that. Now, the thing with the human body, all these bones are supposed to be nice and square. They're like kids' building blocks. When you look down there in the lower part of the neck, you're going to see these bones aren't square anymore. And they're much bigger and they're much wider. That's arthritis. That only happened because you forced your body to grow that. Now, arthritis, the word arth means bone and itis means swelling. Arthritis is swelling of a bone. It's never been a bone wearing out. That's what your medical doctor might say. They'll say arthritis is a mistake. It's something that happens as people get older. First, it's not a mistake. It doesn't have to happen as you get older. It happens when you don't take care of yourself. See, if arthritis was caused by old age, these bones would look the same because those bones are the exact same age. It has nothing to do with age. It has to do with the forces that you put on your body. And if you create that situation, your body has no option. If you broke your arm and grew new bone, no one would ever question the fact that you grew bone. See, that would be, they would say, that's good. Now they can use their arm. But if your neck does that, it's trying to protect you. It's trying to keep you alive. That's a good thing. 58% of Americans are at risk to this problem. Poor posture, 58% of the population. How many cell phones in the world, Linda? 6 billion. Yeah, we were doing some researches. 6 billion cell phones in the world. Everyone is doing this. When I run through the University of Waterloo campus, everyone walks and does this. It's almost like, you see people walk into a pole. It's almost comical. Walking into a pole would be less damaging what they're doing to their body than this. And they walk around like this all the time. This is the world that we're in. And it results in affecting your ability to get your lungs to function properly. 30% decrease in lung function. Now, we've talked about Otto Warburg before. This guy won a Nobel Prize back in the 30s. And he said, the reason why people get cancer is not a question anymore. He said cancer happens when your body is deprived of 60% of its oxygen. So the cells in your body are deprived of 60% of their normal oxygen. Guess what? There's the first 30 of the 60%. Now you know what we could do? We could throw some inactivity in there. We could throw some sitting in there. We could throw some bad diet in there, maybe throw some smoking in there. Doesn't take long to get to 60% deprivation in your cells. And that's when cancer grows. When we take oxygen away from the cells, cancer loves that. So this position is horrible for you. And if you're not using 30% of your lungs, your body will stop sending blood there. And as a result of that, your body won't work right. So this can be reversed out, but it won't be if you keep looking down. More people die from a sedentary lifestyle than smoking. The Surgeon General, former Surgeon General. We all should know this. We know a sedentary lifestyle is a very, very bad idea, yet we get caught up in it. You go home and you're tired. People go home and they're tired because a lot of people sit all day. Merv, you're one of the lucky ones. You're probably up all day too, aren't you? The average person, I'm going to show you later in a slide, the average person sits for 13 hours a day. All you're sitting in a day. Those are big, big numbers. And when you sit, you feel tired. When someone asks you to get up, it's work to get up out of a chair. You'll notice we have standing workstations here. It's one of those things that we came up with, and it was more accidental than anything else. We knew it was better to stand. We didn't understand the science because we did this.
Because we had a counter here that was that height.
Yeah, that's probably what happened. Yeah, we built it. We built the counter that height. It works backwards. It might have worked that way. All I know is we did something innately. We thought, you know what? I feel better when I stand up straight, because when I'm standing up, my body works better. I know when I sit in a chair, you kind of get in, and even if you get a really good chair, my advice is don't get a really good chair. Because if you get a really good chair, you're going to want to just sit in it a lot longer. We have stools, so if you're going to sit on the stool, you're only kind of half sitting, it's easy to get up. But when I get in that lazy boy chair at home and someone asks me to do something, it's like, ooh, yeah, it's probably not going to happen right now. So when you get comfortable, that's bad for you. And people die from a sedentary lifestyle. We want you to be more active. Back to the sitting. The studies on sitting, and this is the stuff that's just started happening in the media in the last several years. It increases your risk of cancer. Sitting too long. Now, if you're in an environment where you can get a standing workstation, go to HR tomorrow and get a standing workstation. I'll say, oh, I don't want to bother anyone. Well, do you want to get cancer? Not everyone's going to get cancer, but you need to stand up. It's a healthier thing. Now, you can't go from sitting all day to standing all day, but you can ease your way into it, an hour and then 2 hours, and before you know it, you're standing most of the day. We stand most of the day. My Fitbit tells me how many steps I take in a normal day, and it's usually a lot because it's constant movement. Sitting down, maybe I'll sit down a half an hour in my whole day, and I'm here from most days 6 in the morning till 6 at night. So you don't need to sit, but when I go home, then I don't mind sitting for an hour or two before I go to bed. However, when you're sitting and you're watching TV, those commercial breaks come on, get up and do something. Get into a yoga pose. Do some push-ups. Do something to stay active instead of just being stuck in the same position all the time. Wolf's Law. Wolf's Law is really neat. And I love it when something says it's a law. Because with a law, that means 100% of the time. Gravity is a law. I drop something, it falls. It never hovers, it never goes up, it falls. Wolf's Law states that when you change the bones, then the architecture, if you put different stress on the bones, the internal and external architecture of the bone will transform. So the body is willing to do what you force it to do. It's an amazing, amazing thing. Now, there's always the flip side of the coin. Your body is going to protect itself. However, when you start remolding these bones that are supposed to have a very specific curve, that are supposed to have certain amounts of holes for the nerves to get out between it, when you start altering the architecture and then the bones start to fuse together, then people start to now walk differently. They're unable to bend. Then the nerves get interfered with. And you got to understand, these nerves go to vital organs and muscles in your body. I have never looked at a death certificate and seen someone who died from arm pain. Arm pain is not a cause of death, right? It might make your life uncomfortable, but when you have arm pain, that same pinched nerve that goes down the arm, it goes to your heart and it goes to your lungs. That's why with a doctor, if someone's having a heart attack, the doctors don't worry about the fact that your arm hurts. They understand that's a symptom of something else. All right? So people don't die from arm pain. They die from organ failure. These are the same nerves that are being pinched because you've changed the structure in your body, and now your body has to adapt to the environment, and then that can create all sorts of hormonal imbalances, chemical problems with your blood, and then sickness. Remember, when you go to your doctor and they run blood, they're seeing the sickness downstream. They're seeing the effect of what happened to your lifestyle in your blood. And that's something that happens months and years down the road. My whole point is to make sure that you understand that if you change your lifestyle and you do the right things, disease is not the normal state of the body. It's something that happens when you weren't paying attention. It's not an accident, it's not your genes, it's what you're doing to your lifestyle. And the medical research about cancer and heart disease and strokes and all these horrible conditions that we don't want, 80 to 90% are totally avoidable through lifestyle. So think of how many people we could get out of a medical model right there. But when we look around society, what direction are we moving? Are we seeing more people going to sickness or less people? Yeah, we're seeing more people under stress. We're seeing more people choosing to not exercise. We're seeing more people putting on weight and not understanding how devastating that can be to the body. We don't need any more studies. We just need to do something differently if we want to be well. Car accidents. And even think of the NFL. You see, when you watch sports, you understand when two people hit their heads together, some of these people are going to commit suicide years later because of the brain damage. This is a horrible thing that's happening. We're seeing concussions in hockey. We're seeing the NFL and what's been going on, and then all the money that's been put into it to try to fix a problem. These are two people hitting their heads together. When we start talking about car accidents, the forces that people go through are unfathomable. So this medical doctor says mathematically, the results are unbelievable when you see how much trauma. And most people are like, well, how'd the car look afterwards? Who cares? Who cares if your car is designed to absorb some of the impact, but if your car isn't damaged that much, but you are, does that mean you're not damaged? Sure, you're damaged. So everyone can be affected differently, and once again, it doesn't matter how bad it looks from the outside. It's your brain is rattling around inside your skull, and boxing was very good at proving that you could put padding on people, but the brain's still going to move around in there, and that's going to result in serious trauma over time. See this? See how her head goes forward? It's cute, but when you know how devastating that is. Now, Comprise, these are one of those names that when I was in University of Waterloo, you heard these people. They were physiologists, and you didn't know how it was going to impact my life. Then you go to chiropractic college, and then you go, Comprise, yeah, we've heard of that guy before. He says that when your head goes forward 1 inch, so when I'm standing here like this, you want my ear to be over my shoulder. It's real simple. That's the way we're designed. Our body is designed to be shoulders back. We can breathe better. So let's all sit up in our seat, and I'll show you, for example. So we're all going to sit up straight in our chair, and then we're all going to just take a nice deep breath in, and then all the way out. Good. Now, move your head forward 1 inch. Okay, that's not a lot. Now take a deep breath in, and all the way out. Anyone feel a difference in your vital capacity? 1 inch forward. And that was just in a sitting position. That's not you getting stuck in this position watching a movie or whatever kids are doing on their phones nowadays. Now here's the thing. When my ear is over my shoulder, my head weighs approximately 10 pounds in that position. Now when my head goes forward 1 inch, biomechanically it creates something called a bending moment. So basically it's putting a lot of stress on my spine. Now it's like my head weighs 20 pounds. So now my head weighs twice as much. That's what my neck is getting because of my head being in that position. And then my bones are, well, gee, I can't support that kind of weight. So the muscles will go into spasm. The bones will immediately start to grow, and it'll take years and years and years to fuse those bones together. But that's what happens when the head goes forward. You go forward 2 inches, you know what? That's another 10 pounds to the equation. Now, it's like your head weighs 30 pounds, and your spine will just keep fusing together along the way. And when we fuse, we alter the nerves. When we alter the nerves, we alter the organ function, and that results in a cascading series of horrible things for the body. This medical doctor actually did some research, and they found that some people ended up with multiple sclerosis as a result of cervical spine injuries. So when we're talking about the structure of the brain and your spinal cord, first thing you have to understand is your brain, it runs everything, but your spinal cord is simply an extension of your brain. Christopher Reeves falls, he breaks his neck. His brain sends out a perfect message, but the heart can't hear it, the lungs can't hear it, and he can't move his arms and legs. Christopher Reeves ended up dying from pneumonia because he can't fight off a simple infection. His brain sent out the message, the body just doesn't hear it. He needed a pacemaker, he needed a ventilator. So we see him in the pictures and you go, oh yeah, that was that tube that they had there. Yeah, without that tube, he wouldn't have survived. So my job is to make sure that we get your body in good shape, because when people are injured, you might be one injury away from a horrible condition like multiple sclerosis. You see, the medical model, we're waiting around for a symptom, and then they're going to react to it as soon as they can. That's their model. Oh, you've fallen off a cliff, let's get you an ambulance. I'm a chiropractor, I say, wouldn't it make more sense to put a barrier at the top of the cliff so people wouldn't fall? And people are like, no, 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 I want to see the view. I want to get real close. And that's their life. It's like everyone is, I want to have the experience. There's some things I don't think you do want to experience. And we all know we're supposed to eat better. And I'm not saying you have to eat perfect. I'm saying you have to eat better. You have to get better at what you do. You know, we're all smart people, but that magic word comes in, but we're not necessarily doing the right thing at the right time. I'm not perfect, but I'm working towards a better lifestyle because as I get older, I'm understanding there's changes happening to my body that I might not necessarily like, that I didn't see 10 years ago. And I'm understanding now, if I don't take better care of myself, my aging process isn't going to be as good. So try to visualize a minefield where I'm walking around in a field, and if I step in the wrong spot, my leg's going to get blown off. Well, as you get older, you start seeing more mines. You start seeing things that you didn't see when you were 30 because you thought you were invincible. You're not. That's why you have to start making changes. It was a great article in the paper this week about Ed Whitlock. I don't know if you know who he is. He's a runner from Milton. When I ran the Waterloo Marathon 2 years ago, I ran the full marathon and he ran the half marathon. He ran the exact same pace that I did in my marathon, so I went twice as far. But he was 82. So he was running at the same speed as me. Now, when he was 85 last summer, he was the first person on earth to run a marathon at 85 in under 4 hours. That's pretty impressive, isn't it? A few years before, there was a gentleman from London, England, who ran one of the Toronto marathons. Now, he was 100. He did it in 8 hours. But he was 100 and he ran a marathon.
And that's 26 miles.
Yeah, 26.2 miles. So this is what Ed Whitlock can do. And Ed's aging better than other people. And what happens is his cells are more alert. His body is doing things that a 50-year-old is able to do. That's how he can do those things. But the only reason he did it, it's not genes, it's not luck. It's he just did something that you haven't figured out how to do yet. So it's never too late to start. I didn't start running until I was 40. I went with many years without really exercising, and I'm probably in better shape now than I was when I was 40. So the whole idea is if I can do it, you can do it. Loss of a cervical spine. When someone loses a normal curve, everyone's supposed to have this beautiful C-shaped curve of the spine when I'm standing here. If you lose that curve, the scientific research, this is one of my first real scientific talks we've done in a while, because people don't understand this. You know, we understand that we shouldn't eat sugar, but this is, when you lose your curve, your spinal cord is inside these bones. Now your spinal cord gets stretched. And when your spinal cord gets stretched, your body can't work right. Back to MS. MS is caused by demyelination of your spinal cord. Now, around your spinal cord, around the nerves, you have something called myelin. Demyelination means now you don't have myelin. And the myelination, the myelin that's around the outside of the nerve, it allows the nerves to conduct the electricity at the proper speed. If there's no myelin there, the messages can't travel properly. So what are you going to see? You're going to see weakness, you're going to see miscoordination, you're going to see double vision. It's going to be all sorts of things that you're going to see. But this is a result of tension on the spinal cord. So when people go, what's the big deal? My neck doesn't curve right. What's the big deal? My neck is in a forward position. You're causing demyelination at a slower level. That's going to affect how the blood goes to the spinal cord. And if that area in your spine starts to degenerate and deteriorate, that part of your spine can now not control your organs properly. And over the next 5 to 10 years, you're going to see the effect of it. But you're not going to see the effect of it until it's too late. I don't want you to wait around till it's too late. The medical model is all predicated on, do you have a symptom? Or we're going to run a test to find if you're already sick or on your way to sickness. My model is health is the normal state. It's the normal thing inside your body. And if you put tension on your spinal cord, absolutely you're going to end up with a disease state. When I look at this one, I almost feel the tension in my neck when you see someone bent forward like that. The Mayo Clinic. Forward head position leads to long-term muscular strain, disc herniations, arthritis, and pinched nerves. Though that's their words, pinched nerves. Remember, nerves go to organs. Not just muscles, organs. So pinched nerves that you feel, that's not going to kill you. It's the pinched nerves that you don't feel. That's what's going to kill you. So Mayo Clinic, you know, they're a pretty good source there too. Heads in forward position can add up to 30 pounds of pressure. We talked about that, the leverage on the spine. The forward head position, 30% loss in your vital capacity of the lungs. Just a little review of that we talked about earlier. When you don't have that 30% of your lung accessible to you, it's not a surprise people go home and they don't feel like exercising. I know when I started running, it was about 11 years ago, and I went out, my first run, really wasn't that much of a run, it was like a fast walk. It was 2.2 kilometers. After 3 runs, I was able to breathe deeper. So it was kind of cool because obviously there was something going on, but I wasn't waiting around to see, but you could see how the body immediately adapts. And that's what exercise is all about. That's why when we get people eating less sugar, we're going to get you to adapt to that. And it's going to take about a week before you realize, hey, everything is way too much, way too sweet. Why do you know? Because now you've realized how much sugar you are putting into your body. And then when you make those changes, you're going to become super healthy again. A study of respiratory dysfunction, same thing again. It has to do with when people end up with chronic neck pain, these people posturally, they end up with problems with their respiratory muscles. The nerves in the neck control the heart and lungs. So you put pressure on there, the lungs aren't going to work right. And that is eventually going to create a sickness or disease in your body. It's just a matter of time. You ever noticed how sick kids are? When I was growing up, there was no kids with cancer. I knew one person in my neighborhood, Mr. Dent. He had cancer. He had no idea what cancer was. But there was no kids with cancer. There was nothing like that. And now we're seeing attention deficit. We're seeing autism. And then I hear from medicine, they say, oh no, autism's always been there. We're just better at diagnosing it. And it's like, really? So I missed that in my classroom? I missed those, 1 or 2 children that I would have been going to school with? It's like, come on, guys. This is related to lifestyle, and then we put a phone in these kids' hands. These are distracting. What we're seeing is a society that just wants to have fun all the time. And for some reason, they look at that as fun. And all we're going to see is sicker and sicker children because all of these posture positions that they're in are bad for them. Loss of the natural curves of the cervical spine leads to pressure on the nervous system, and pressure in the nervous system means your body's not going to work right. And remember, we talked about pressure on those bones. As soon as you put pressure on those bones will change shape. They will listen to what you've asked them to do. And when that happens, there's consequences to our actions. When people, and this is interesting because you always hear the story of, oh, I don't want to go to a chiropractor because I could have a stroke. I hear stuff like this. People have these horrible lifestyles for all these years. They're coming in with a headache, which could be the stroke that they're already having. But the reality is one of the most common things that we see are messed up curves in people's necks. And here's some medical research. A comprehensive study revealed a significant association between loss of cervical lordosis and decreased vertebral artery function. The decreased diameter flow and peak systolic velocity. Basically, the vertebral arteries carry a lot of blood which carries oxygen to your brain. If your curve is altered, then that's going to affect blood flow to your brain. As a chiropractor, I'm going to restore curves. And I'm not going to do it because I fix curves. All I do is remove nerve interference. Curves go back to normal. See, in the medical model, if you go into your medical doctor, they'll look at you as a neck or as a knee or a low back. That's how they look at you. And then they want to fix that. That's a part of your body, but that's not you. They're going to fix the swelling, they're going to take your pain away, they're going to fix your gastric reflux. Even though that you might end up with dementia, because that's what the new research is. The people who take those drugs increases your chance of dementia by 44%. You see, you're going to fix your symptom. I don't want to fix anything that you have. I want to allow your body to heal by removing the interference that you've caused to this perfect structure that you have. I hear all the time saying, oh, the body's a tremendous machine. It's not a machine. Machines can't fix themselves. Machines aren't smart. This body is absolutely not a machine. It's an organism that is self-regulating and self-healing. It has consciousness. It's amazing. However, if you interfere with it, you're creating a situation where it can't work as well. And yeah, when your neck's in the wrong position, it's stretching your spinal cord. It's taking your ability to breathe properly. And oh yeah, it's affecting blood flow to your brain. It just gets worse and worse and worse. And then what happens? Well, cancer happens as soon as you lose 60% of the oxygen to your cells. Cancer. The Cancer Society, they keep collecting money. The Heart and Stroke Society, they keep talking about if we could only get the cause of this, if we could only figure out the cause of it. It's like your lifestyle is your cause. They don't need any more money. It's an industry. And then I hear people say, well, they have a cure for cancer, but they don't want to give it to you. It's like, no, your lifestyle is what results in cancer or not. There's no cure for cancer locked away that someone is keeping from you. It has to do with what you're going to eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and whether you exercise or not. That's not locked away. That's your choice. You just are willing to let someone else make that choice for you. So no, there's no magic pill out there or magic needle out there that's going to save you. What's going to save you is your day-by-day actions. Don't worry about Donald Trump. Worry about your lunch. People are like, Donald Trump crazy. It's like, well, President Donald Trump, we should show respect. But the whole idea is, it's not, he's one person. He's not going to change your world. You can change your world a whole lot more. This is neat too, because we do a lot of work in the upper cervical spine. And once again, research here shows that when there's spinal lesions, I like the expression subluxation versus spinal lesions, it will result in pathological changes to the tissues in your body. It can be measured in your urine, in your blood. So when people get bones stuck out of place, we call that dis-ease. The body is not at ease. Now, dis-ease eventually turns into disease over years. And then you can see the effect of that. But when people end up having subluxations to their spine, it can affect, especially at the C1, C2 area, it can affect the pituitary. It can affect the hypothalamus. It affects parts of your body that control your hormones. So I get that all the time where people will start caring. I got a husband and wife and they're both getting adjusted and he's losing weight and she's not. And it's like, well, that's because your hormones are out of balance. And it could be toxicity, it could be the subluxation isn't corrected yet, but when we get people eating properly and exercising and de-stressing themselves, you know what? If the weight doesn't fall off in the first 2 weeks or 2 months, what are you going to do? Go back to your old lifestyle? Or are you going to keep doing what you know makes perfect sense? To me, it's like, well, then let's keep eating right. Let's keep exercising. And then eventually, the body's designed to heal itself. But when your hormones are out of balance, it makes it very hard to lose the weight that you're supposed to. And how does that happen? Too much sugar, too little exercise. All of those things, when we start doing it properly, it brings your body back into balance, and then your body can heal the way it's supposed to again. And once again, diabetes. If impaired central nervous system signals can contribute to diabetes and metabolic diseases, metabolic syndromes. So pressure on your spinal cord can absolutely affect your nervous system, which can cause obesity and weight gains and diabetes. Horrible conditions nowadays. Lesions to the hypothalamic region can produce a variety of conditions, including diabetes, obesity, sexual dysfunctions, and loss of thermal control. Once again, a medical journal there. Study after study shows if there's interference with the master control system in your body, it's a matter of time before you see the effect of it. Neuroscientists know that the psychopathology, so that's looking at conditions like depression, which is one that we're seeing a whole lot nowadays anyways. And medicine's going to talk about the brain chemistry, and they're going to try to balance your chemistry. You don't need to balance your chemistry. Your body's designed to balance itself. What you need to do is make sure there's no interference to the process. Those medications that people are taking to balance their hormones, you see the commercials on TV. What are the side effects? Suicidal thoughts, suicidal actions. It's written right in the box. These are government-approved drugs that will increase the chance of you killing yourself. I don't know. I think exercise and a proper diet, maybe taking some fish oil is a better way to go. What do you guys think? Now, exercising, you won't want to kill yourself. You might feel like it for a bit, but you're going to exercise.
Like killing yourself while
You won't actually do it, yeah. But the whole idea is exercise is good for you. Exercise is going to help your body heal better, and there are no side effects. Exercise would be a wonder drug if someone could sell it to you. Unfortunately, it's free, so no one puts any real thought or effort into it. They like to buy things, and they like to say, the outside is going to help me. I can't do that myself because I know I'm weak. We got these mindsets that are off where someone will say, oh, it's going to be really hard for me to lose weight. And I go, yep, it is. It's going to be almost impossible because you just told me it's going to be impossible. What do you change your thought to? In the past, it used to be very hard for me to lose weight because I didn't understand. Now I understand and I can do it. But the funniest thing is the people who tell me it's going to be hard to lose weight, one of them has lost 100 pounds before. It's like, well, you've already lost 100 pounds. Now you put it all back on. But you lost the 100 pounds. So if someone has never lost the weight, I could say, well, yeah, maybe it would be harder because you've never actually done it. But these are people who have lost weight and then put it on and go, it's impossible to lose weight like what you did before. Yeah, like what I did before. Well, then you can do it again. But we're going to show you how to keep the weight off because if you eat the right food, don't listen to Oprah about she can eat bread and do all those things. You know, Oprah lost 40 pounds in a year. That's kind of good, but it's not fantastic. She has her own chef. She's a billionaire. She has people that shop for her. I think she probably could have done more than 40 pounds in a year. You know, she's a pretty motivated woman. But I'm not betting that she's going to lose the next 10 or 20 pounds. Very smart, very intelligent. But it doesn't mean I would bet on her for losing weight because I don't think she has the weight. It goes up and down too much with these people. And once again, when you look at the names, you know, medicine likes to make things simple. They like to say, you're chemically imbalanced. We believe. You hear it in the drug companies, we believe. They don't say, scientifically, it's been proven that this happens. They say, no, we believe. It's like, well, it's great that you have a belief system, but is there any science backing it up? Now, we would call a subluxation a hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis dysfunction. That's nervous interference that's in your spine, that's affecting how your hormones work in your body, that's resulting in you feeling sad. But it's not a really catchy phrase. But this is how it's all connected. You see, when that bone is out of place in your neck, it affects blood flow. It affects tension on your spinal cord. It affects breathing, so that affects your decisions. And then your decisions, if you sit in a chair, then once again your body gets lazy. In our next talk that we're going to get into, there's research that shows if your head goes into a forward position, you get into more of a sad way of thinking. Where if we get you standing up straight, then our cortisol levels are decreased.
25%.
25%. Testosterone goes up. And women, don't worry, you're not going to grow muscles. But testosterone is a good thing to have in your body. Helps you build muscle. Yeah, well, it's not that big. But the whole idea is if you put your head back in the normal position, then God allowed your body to now have less stress, less cortisol, and more testosterone. You know, this is bad, this is good. And if you keep doing this, then it's going to be bad. The thoughts that go into your head are going to be different. And I want you to do the right thing. This is a horrible thing when we're seeing young, depressed people nowadays. Work posture. People come home from work tired and sick all the time. And you're looking for a more comfortable chair. You don't need to be sitting. You need to be up and you need to be moving. 70% of all headaches arise from neck problems. I had a new patient that was in, and it was about 2 weeks ago. Andres. And Andres started seeing me because he was mountain biking. So this guy, he's my age. But over Christmas, the weather was nice. He goes out mountain biking. So he's a little more insane. I'm not going to go biking in the winter. He went outside in the winter biking. Going down hills, he jars his arm. Okay, he starts to get some numbness in his arm. Him and his family, they go away. They go to Toronto for the night, stay in a hotel with the 2 kids, and once again, all crowded bed, and he's stuck in the corner because they're going to the aquarium the next day. And so he wakes up the next morning, and he's really a lot worse than he was before. Then his arm goes numb, and he makes the mistake of going to his medical doctor and says, I think I had a stroke. Which is, first, it's not his job whether he had a stroke, it's the doctor's job. It's like walking into your doctor and saying, I think I had a seizure. And your doctor's going to say, can I see your driver's license? And you go, yeah, it's right here. And they're going to go, thank you. I'm going to take your driver's license. You're not qualified to determine if you had a seizure, okay? So don't help them hurt you, all right? Your doctor will make the determination. He goes in and says, I think I've had a stroke. His neighbor helped him too. So, people feed each other. Where his wife was a patient, they should have called me. But they didn't bring him in for the checkup. He decided to stay home. Then they do a CAT scan. Once again, this is protocol. Medicine always does this thing. Well, if we think we've had a stroke, we're going to do a CAT scan. Do a CAT scan on him, give him a massive dose of radiation. No, there's nothing wrong there. Of course, there's nothing wrong. He comes in here, we take an x-ray, he's got a reverse curve, and he's got degeneration in his neck. I took a history. I said, well, what happened? You went mountain biking. Then what happened? And then you went to the hotel. Oh, and then your son kept you up all night. And then it was obvious what happened. No one wanted to sit down and do a history. Everyone wants to do tests on you. If you don't do a history, you don't even know what test you're supposed to be running at the end of the day. And this is what medicine does. People go into their medical doctor. They don't do a throat swab anymore. They just go, here's your antibiotic and here's your 2 buffers. Wow, thanks, doctor. We talked about this a few weeks ago. We saw it in the news. 1 out of 3 people in Canada are diagnosed with asthma, and they don't have asthma. I don't know. That should make you mad. That's 1 million Canadians that are on asthma medication who probably have another condition because they went to their doctor with something. They're misdiagnosed. They're given all the wrong drugs, and these drugs they've been given cause osteoporosis and glaucoma. Oh well.
Well, they're steroids.
Yeah, the steroids. This is what happens. Your doctor's not doing throat swabs anymore. They used to do them when we were young, and they stopped doing them. Did they get better at guessing, or did they just cut some corners? That's what's happening, guys. You got to become an informed consumer. I read the monograms for the flu shot. That's one that's sitting on my desk. It's like 26 pages for the flu shot that's out there now. Clearly they say there's mercury in there. Clearly they say it's in there. They say we don't know what would happen if they gave it to pregnant women, and then when they give it to the health unit says it's safe. They're injecting mercury into women who are pregnant, and that will lead to spontaneous abortions in some cases. And no one wants to do anything. Well, I think it's wrong, guys. That's why you have to become a health consumer. Headaches. Back to the headaches. This patient goes and gets this massive dose. All he needed was an adjustment. And then he wouldn't have needed the massive dose of radiation. 70% of your headaches are caused by problems in your neck. And I can guarantee 100% of your headaches are not a result of lack of Tylenol in your body. That's what people do. They put Tylenol in their body. If your headache was caused by not having Tylenol, I see the solution, putting Tylenol in there. Tylenol is a chemical you're putting in your body. This is a physical problem because the bone's out of place. Older women with hyperkyphotic spines have a higher mortality rate. That means when you get hunched over in this position, you die quicker. Medical research. Journal of the American Geriatric Society. How do we stop this? We stopped that 30 years ago. We don't give them a drug, like we see these osteoporosis drugs that have 2% improvement. You know, you look at this and you're reading the studies, it's like 2% and it has all these horrible side effects.
Like fractures.
Yeah, osteonecrosis of your jaw. And you get all these side effects with very little chance. And then we keep saying, well, there's going to be a new Parkinson's drug. There's going to be a new Alzheimer's drug. All those drugs keep failing. You know what works? Exercise, diet, decreasing your stress, keeping your body in the position it's supposed to so there's no stress on your nervous system. And then we have to do our exercises in our posture so that we're standing up. You can't just lay down and say, I'm going to lay down and do all my traction. No, you need to be able to work with gravity. So you need to be able to exercise, whether it's riding a bicycle or lifting weights or running. You have to have variety in your day. Now, I do a bunch of different things. I'm doing my push-ups, so I'm back to my push-ups. This is week 6, I think, with my push-ups. One day every week I do 1,000. That was yesterday. So I do 50 here, then 100 there, throughout the whole day. It might take me an hour, but I do 1,000. Now, when I have an idea of doing 1,000 on Wednesday, now with you guys I'd say you should set a goal of 100. Now how you set a goal of 100 is you say, I'm going to do 100 in 3 weeks. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 10 today, and then it's going to hurt. And then the next day you're going to try to do 10, and then you went, oh, it wasn't so bad. Now I'm going to do 10 in another 6 hours. Then you've got 20. So what you do, if I'm going to do 1,000 push-ups, the other 6 days during the week, I'm going to do 100 or 200 or 500. You see, it's not just about trying to do one event on one day. So I challenge myself to make sure I have to focus on that. We're going to get back to the planking. We're going to call it the 5-minute Friday. So I want you on Friday to eventually get to 5 minutes of planking. Well, how are you going to get there? By doing a 30-second plank tonight. You guys know what planking is, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a push-up except you're on your elbows. And you're just trying to hold that form as long as you can. And then when you do that, your abdominal muscles, your core muscles get better. And what happens? Well, it helps you stand better. And what does that mean? It means your organs are going to work right, and you're going to be able to burn calories better, which is what we want. We want to age better. And then there's going to be a running day, where one day we'll have a goal that I'm going to set. So this is something that we're setting out there right now that I'm going through. But you should start on it too and say, you know what, I'm watching TV. Why don't I just do a yoga pose for a minute? And then do that. Say, hey, it wasn't so bad. Now, maybe next commercial break, I'll do it for a minute and a half. And that's going to help you posturally. It's going to help you with your balance. These are simple little things that will make all the difference instead of you guys saying, oh, I'm going to join a gym and go 2 hours a day. You're not going to go to the gym. That's how gyms make their money. You're going to do it at home with simple equipment, and then you're going to be successful. We built the gym here for a reason. You know, you're more than welcome to come here and use our equipment and wear it out. Because if you wear out the equipment, that means your body's going to work better. Does that make sense? Okay. Adam, can you run that video for me? This is a video that Adam found, and it's really thought-provoking. Because text messaging, I really want you to look at the social impact of this, of people that are constantly in bad posture positions. They miss the world as it goes by. Go ahead, Adam. Thanks.
22 friends, yet I'm lonely. I speak to all of them every day, yet none of them really know me. The problem I have sits in the spaces between looking into their eyes or at a name on a screen. I took a step back and opened my eyes. I looked around and realised that this media we call social is anything but. When we open our computers, then it's our doors we shut. All this technology we have, it's just an illusion. Community, companionship, a sense of inclusion. Yet when you step away from this device of delusion, you awaken to see a world of confusion. A world where we're slaves to the technology we mastered, where information gets sold by some rich, greedy bastard. A world of self-interest, self-image, self-promotion, where we all share our best bits, but leave out the emotion. We're at our most happy with an experience we share, but is it the same if no one is there? Be there for your friends, and they'll be there too, but no one will be if a group message will do. We edit and exaggerate, crave adulation. We pretend not to notice the social isolation. We put our words into order until our lives are glistening. We don't even know if anyone is listening. Being alone isn't a problem, let me just emphasise. If you read a book, paint a picture, or do some exercise, you're being productive and present, not reserved and recluse. You're being awake and attentive and putting your time to good use. So when you're in public and you start to feel alone, put your hands behind your head, step away from the phone. You don't need to stare at your menu or at your contact list. Just talk to one another, learn to coexist. I can't stand to hear the silence of a busy commuter train where no one wants to talk through the fear of looking insane. We're becoming unsocial. It no longer satisfies to engage with one another and look into someone's eyes. We're surrounded by children who, since they were born, have watched us living like robots and think it's the norm. It's not very likely you'll make world's greatest dad if you can't entertain a child without using an iPad. When I was was a child, I'd never be home. Be out with my friends on our bikes we would roam. I'd wear holes in my trainers and graze up my knees. We'd build our own clubhouse high up in the trees. Now the park's so quiet it gives me a chill. See no children outside and the swings hanging still. There's no skipping, no hopscotch, no church and no steeple. We're a generation of idiots, smartphones and dumb people. So look up from your phone, shut down the display. Take in your surroundings, make the most of today. Just one real connection is all it can take to show you the difference that being there can make. Be there in the moment that she gives you the look that you remember forever as when love overtook. The time she first holds your hand or first kiss your lips. The time you first disagree but still love her to bits. The time you don't have to tell hundreds of what you've just done because you want to share this moment with just this one. The time you sell your computer so you can buy a ring for the girl of your dreams who is now the real thing. The time you want to start a family and the moment when you first hold your little girl and get to fall in love again. The time she keeps you up at night and all you want is rest. And the time you wipe away the tears as your baby flees the nest. The time your baby girl returns to a boy for you to hold. And the time he calls you granddad and makes you feel real old. The time you take in all you've made just by giving life attention. And how you're glad you didn't waste it by looking down on some invention. The time you hold your wife's hand, sit down beside her bed. You tell her that you love her, lay a kiss upon her head. She then whispers to you quietly as her heart gives a final beat that she's lucky she got stopped by that lost boy in the street. But none of these times ever happened. You never had any of this. When you're too busy looking down, you don't see the chances you miss. So look up from your phone, shut down those displays. We have a finite existence, a set number of days. Don't waste your life getting caught in the net, as when the end comes, nothing's worse than regret. I'm guilty too of being part of this machine, this digital world we are heard but not seen, where we type as we talk and we read as we chat, where we spend hours together without making eye contact. So don't give in to a life where you follow the hype. Give people you love, don't give them you like. Disconnect from the need to be heard and defined. Go out into the world, leave distractions behind. Look up from your phone, shut down that display. Stop watching this video, live life the real way.
Now Linda's gonna take us to the gym and she's gonna show us some exercises that you can do to help avoid problems with your tense neck. So head this way.
Okay, so if anybody has a few minutes before you want to go home, come and follow me to the gym.